There are many famous characters in Street Fighter, but not many are familiar with their backstories. In this series, I want to talk about these characters' history, inspiration, gameplay, and other fun facts from other media, namely the Udon comics. In our first episode, we will go home to be a family man and talk about Guile. Guile is a tall, muscular, blonde man enlisted in the United States Air Force. His rank in the Air Force tends to shift about depending on the media he is in, although Capcom tends to say he is a major. His hair is spiked up in a massive flat top and has become a trademark of his character design. He also has a pair of American flag tattoos on his shoulders, one on each side. It is clear that he was designed with a very vibe in mind, and many of his quotes relate to things usually associated with America. For those who do not know, the Street Fighter games are not told in chronological order. Rather, they are told in this order. First, Street Fighter 1, followed by Street Fighter Alpha, then Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, and with Street Fighter 3 taking place at the very end of the timeline, long after Shadaloo has fallen. Our story begins before the events of Street Fighter 2, with Street Fighter Alpha 3. Guile was taught by a man named Charlie Nash, and it was through him he learned his famous Sonic Boom and Flash Kick, though not being as proficient at it, requiring both hands to fire. Charlie and Guile are great friends and partners. One day, Charlie is sent on a mission to investigate the organization Shadaloo. Charlie, however, is killed by series villain M. Bison, and Guile swears vengeance against him. Teaming up with the Interpol cop Chun-Li, he and Chun-Li gear up to take down the evil organization and dons Charlie's dog tags in his honor. In Guile and Chun-Li's attempts to pin Shadaloo for their crimes, they bring M. Bison to court. However, he bribes all the members of the court and gets off scot-free. Angered by all the meddling in his plans, M. Bison swears revenge against those who would step in his way, including Guile and Chun-Li, and creates a world martial arts tournament designed to trap his opponents and find a new body for him to take over in order to become stronger. Guile takes the bait, deserting his wife and daughter in order to pursue his selfish goal of revenge. Guile's ending shows him over a defeated Bison, a bloodlust in his eyes as he prepares to kill M. Bison. His wife interrupting the match to hug him. Guile declares he isn't a murderer like Bison and decides to go home to be a family man. Prior to the events of Street Fighter 4, Chun-Li, Guile, and Cammy are sent on a mission to a theme park to stop the rampage of the SIN operative Jury. While our heroes try and help the citizens to safety, the crazed SIN operative executes a rogue agent and a random worm. She then attempts to kill Chun-Li, only to be stopped by a malfunction in her artificial eye. The other two rescue her and escape. Guile believes it is possible that Charlie may be still alive, since his body was never recovered. Guile demands his superiors to allow him to continue his search. His commanding officers only refuse. As a response, Guile attempts to resign, his officers also choosing to ignore his resignation, assigning Guile to the investigation of the SIN organization, an organization with ties to Shadaloo. Over the course of the tournament, he encounters a mysterious man named Abel, who seems to recognize Guile's Sonic Boom attack. Since he and Charlie are the only two who know this attack, Guile assumes that Abel has information on Charlie's ultimate fate, and immediately begins asking him questions. Abel is completely unwilling to share such sensitive information with the stranger, who he assumes could be a spy. And while a canon ending to this fight is unknown, we will assume Guile won this encounter. After his defeat, Abel leads Guile and Chun-Li to an SIN base. Within this base, Guile recovers an important bit of data while Chun-Li is trapped by Vega. The base's self-destruct is then activated, and while en route to rescuing Chun-Li, Guile is ambushed by one of Bison's cyborgs, resembling Seth. Abel arrives to take on the cyborg instead, telling Guile where Chun-Li is and Guile quickly going to save her, with likely Gen watching over her until he rescues her. After these events, Guile returns to Charlie's grave, placing a beer bottle on it as a way of buying his friend a drink. He then tells the grave that although SIN's plans have been foiled, he knows he hasn't seen the last of Shadaloo yet, leading us into the events of Street Fighter V. I will not focus very much on the events of Street Fighter V in this story, as I feel Guile has very little to do with them, and his only major contribution is being reunited with a revived Charlie Nash. In the story mode, A Shadow Falls, Guile is reunited with a now angry Charlie Nash, being revived by the Illuminati. Nash is bent on revenge against M. Bison for what he did, and Guile attempts to stop him, feeling revenge is not the correct path. As the events of the story continue, Abel is caught and given Bison's psycho power and forced to fight against his friends. After he is subdued, a now level-headed Nash uses his powers to absorb Abel's psycho power and sacrifices himself in stopping Bison so his friends can escape. Guile finally returns his friend's dog tag to him, and thus ending Shadowloo for good this time, once the base explodes and Bison falls with it. Guile does not show up in any of the Street Fighter III games in any way, shape, or form. However, in Street Fighter III Third Strike, a character with a very similar moveset named Remy is included. Remy will not be discussed in this video. Guile, from inception, was designed to be a defensive character with an emphasis on playing in the mid-range and zoning. He is also given the famous charge commands for his special moves, and plenty of command normals. He has many tools designed to whittle away at an opponent and get them frustrated as he interrupts their gameplay. There are things such as his fast sonic booms, his flash kicks to stop jump-ins, and his fairly long normals. His downsides are that his normal moves aren't exceptionally fast, and he also cannot walk in and pressure with his fireballs like Ryu or Sagat can, requiring a charge input. Many players describe him as a wall, and if Guile does not keep up his defenses, he is bound to lose. Guile is famous for never getting any new special moves, and has constantly been given his classic Sonic Boom and Flash Kick. In fact, he is the only character in Street Fighter history to have exclusively 2 special moves. In Street Fighter V, he did get some nice updates. With the introduction of the V system, he received some following little additions. A Sonic Boom that can be used as a wall and launched towards an enemy to absorb multiple projectiles. A Sonic Boom that can be shot in the air diagonally. His V-triggers let him use Nash's Sonic Break Super for free, letting him spam small Sonic Booms with one hand, at the cost of his V-meter. And his V-trigger 2 lets him fire Sonic Booms from his Flash Kick, giving him access to the double Flash Kick when he spends EX bar. Guile actively shaves off his eyebrows, with many of his appearances not including any eyebrows. Ken and Guile are actually in-laws. Ken's wife Eliza is sisters with Guile's wife, Julia. Guile is well known for the quote, "Go home and be a family man." So much so that in the game Street Fighter Cross Tekken, he actually tells Ken to do the same. Ken will also use this quote if he defeats Guile. Another funny interaction is when he fights Ibuki, telling her to go home and be a schoolgirl. Guile is actually based off of several JoJo's characters. While many would assume the primary one is von Stroheim from JoJo's Part 2, this is incorrect. His main inspiration actually came from Jean-Pierre Polnareff from JoJo's Part 3, with his early designs including his hair much more vertical like Polnareff's. As the pixel art team got to work, they made his hair more horizontal as a joke and it stuck, claiming it resembled Stroheim's, and his name derived from Polnareff's nemesis J. Guile, which in Japanese is very close to Guile's J. Gairu and Gairu,